Welcome to the Sandler Training Hour. Each week, Jim and I meet up to discuss some of the strategies and techniques that might help you accelerate your sales success and find some fun in your career. To this week, we're talking about the most fun thing, which is breaking through your comfort zone. And we joke here because breaking through your comfort zone is a process and it's a trainable process, but the biggest hurdle that you have to get over is that it's the question, are you choosing short-term convenience or long-term clarity? Because that's the obstruction that we need to get through. And so before I bring you in, Jim, I want to mention one of the things that I always go back to is this idea that if you negotiate with yourself, you will always win. And we make emotional decisions and then intellectually justify and validate them out of after the fact. So connect that to comfort zone issues, and what we're trying to overcome is a commitment issue that we allow to mask around as an attitude issue, which would sound like, oh, if only I really had the right technique, or if I was more comfortable with talking with people, then I'd do more prospecting.
Yeah.
Which, like, that would be the attitude version of the issue, but the real issue is a commitment issue. I
Yeah.
am not committed to doing what I need to do in my job to experience success. So, Jim, come into this conversation. What do you think?
Yeah. I think if we see comfort zone as an enemy, we'll always oppose it.
Mm,
And I think that sends the wrong message because your comfort zone isn't your enemy, it's your sphere of expertise.
yeah,
If you feel uncomfortable about doing a thing that's outside of your comfort zone, that's just trepidation anchored around something, a new experience. So I think the first thing we recommend is let's honor why the hesitation exists. Let's say, for example, um, maybe you're thinking you should call past clients, and your brain goes something like, yeah, but they haven't heard me in a long time. And if I call them, it's going to sound like I'm just trying to sell them something and I'm desperate. And I feel guilty because I haven't been reaching out to them. And now here I am. I need, right? So we go through all of this logic and reasoning in our mind. And the conclusion we draw as a result of this is no, it's too risky.
yeah,
So the virtue of that comfort zone is you're thinking in advance of the other person's need and you're thinking of the value of the relationship and you don't want to jeopardize it.
yeah,
But that's one small piece of a much bigger picture. Every fear that we have, I like the acronym FEAR, false expectations appearing real. Every fear we have has at its core a seed of truth. There's at least 20% of the fear is warranted and programmed. So honor the existence of the fear first, and then go through the exercise of quantifying my avoidance of action outside of my comfort zone. What's that costing me?
yeah. And quantifying pain does, it's a dual allocation of resources here because getting someone to make a commitment, getting yourself to make a commitment to do something different requires understanding what is at stake. What am I going to lose? What is my potential gain? The stakes of the commitment are different than the stakes of the outcome. We all know this to some degree when we think about experience, but the journey is the destination. The
Yeah.
journey is the destination. In order to be who you want to be tomorrow, you have to start being that person today. And so commitment becomes the foundational hinge that you need to tie the loop around and get direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in order to find commitment, it is the quantification of pain. What does this cost me?
Yeah.
And if you think about the quantification of pain related to a decision to do specific behaviors in your role, you can tie it any way to the ROI calculator of like, okay, if I did this 12 times, what is the likelihood conversion that the next step starts? So maybe 1 out of 26. So 1 out of 26 attempts converts over to a new direction. So then what is the next like the next
Yeah.
point in the calculation that eventually gets you to what is the average cost of the opportunities that you're comfortable closing?
Yeah. Yeah.
That downstream equation is now a quantifiable number that you can say, okay, by choosing not to do these things that I need to do, I am leaving this amount of money on the table.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that we need to get to, that it's the rule of thumb. A decision not to make a decision is a decision.
Yeah. And if you think about the process of deciding, of making a commitment in the context of taking a leap of faith outside of your comfort zone to an action that is defined but unsure, that fear that's keeping you from it, the motivation to take action, as Jason is suggesting, can be found in pain by numbers. And it's not just the numbers of money.
Yeah.
It's what about the emotion? A lot of they say not everyone, most people aren't going to fight to be on the top of the leaderboard, but we're sure going to fight not to be on the bottom.
Hmm.
And I can't tell you how many times I or one of my teammates have been fighting to stay off of the bottom rung of that leaderboard and knowing that what's keeping me from it, from elevating my performance, is my resistance to action that will change the dynamic, aka comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I think bearing in mind that most people don't lose sales because they're bad at selling. It's that they're missing these micro steps periodically throughout the engagement with the client that form the complete system.
Yeah.
In Sandler, we have a selling system that I would say at least 40% of it, for me, starting out 25 years ago, was way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
It probably took me 5 years before I was actually using all of the system. So I was not reaching my potential until I started recognizing the pieces I chose to leave out because they're uncomfortable. Those are the small pieces that are costing me significant time, money, emotional energy, discouragement, all
Yeah.
of those things.
Well, in two moments, I want to pull out of that because I think you're really pointing us to what we need to assess that we're trying to accomplish here. And I think like that's the ultimate question. It's what am I trying to change? So most people who come into sales training are looking for something to increase the likelihood of them closing. And they may focus on that closing conversation. And here's where the math matters. If you're closing at like an 80% clip, yeah, you could do work to move that 80 to 90. But the biggest ROI is going to be doing work on the entire relationship because during the engagement pieces, you have missed opportunities. Someone who's good at hunting isn't good at developing relationships.
Yeah.
Someone who's good at developing relationships may have a hard time hunting. We
Yeah.
have to level up where the lack
Yeah.
is. We because if you spend 100% of your effort focusing on how do I close someone better, what are the tips that get someone to say yes when they're feeling like they should say no? That is by itself the stereotypical salesperson. Oh, you came in here to talk to me about something you want? Let me show you why you should buy from me. That is the typical sales experience in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
Then
So
we jump into that telling mode and honestly earn the moniker of pushy salesperson.
yeah. And it's we aren't telling, we are discovering. The reason that you're trying to change and you're not changing is because you're telling yourself to change.
Yeah.
The reason people struggle to buy from a teller is the same reason like you struggle to tell yourself to change. It doesn't work. It's not that it's bad. We all do it. It's not that it's like a surprise. This is a biological growth lesson that we've probably learned,
Right.
where we intuit like, hey, I should tell myself to collect food because if I don't, I will die. But telling is not the conviction
Not
and
doing it.
commitment that we need. So our challenge to you here is first, figure out what you're trying to move. If you don't have a clear idea on what to move, then the thing that you will default to is beating yourself up about what you think you should do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So make the commitment for clarity in the future. And then once you have that commitment step set, now it's defining what are the behaviors that'll move the needle a week or a day at a time, because it's not that we need to change the world all at once. We need to set a precedent that we hold ourselves accountable to. And that commitment will have long-lasting effects.
It's
But you
good.
found, but you found your way to us today. So do a little bit of research, backtrack your way to our website, find a little bit more about us, who we are and what we do. And if you're curious, reach out. Otherwise, good selling. Good luck out there.